My name is Trisha Etringer, and you are listening to the first episode of the Indigified podcast. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Trisha Etringer, and I am enrolled with the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. And I am Eagle Clan, and I live in Sioux City. I also work for Great Plains Action Society. We do a lot of cool stuff around Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota. I'm going to kick it over to Monica and Brandon, whoever wants to go first, and to introduce themselves.
Hi, Napi. I'm Monica Gooddon. I'm also a member of the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. I am a ThunderClan woman. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Season 1, Episode 1. It's going to be great. Super excited to be here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And then Brandon.
Good morning. My name is Brandon Arreaga. I am a member of the Omaha tribe of Nebraska. You know, Macy in the house.
I like how you said that.
Yeah, so welcome to the Indigified podcast. You know, today we gathered here to discuss some topics that we feel are important to ourselves and to our listeners. And a lot of this is going to be educational for ourselves and for you guys too. And we're just trying to grow together and trying to thrive off positivity. You know, today's episode is centered around small business. So why choose small business, you might ask? You know, for me personally, I believe that small businesses are the backbone to our community, and they help thrive our own areas. So not trying to get too far into it, but, you know, when the money stays here in our surrounding area, we can put that back into our schools, back into other businesses, and just grow. And so I want to start off with getting into the small business, the hows and the whys, and everything from there. So I'm going to turn it back over to Trish.
Thank you so much, Brandon. So according to the U.S. Census Bureau statistics, Native American-owned businesses contribute over $33 billion to the U.S. economy every year and employ over 200,000 people. Here with us today is our co-host, Monica, who is going to dive into her personal business journey. So she owns Moon Wellness Co., which is in Sioux City, Iowa. And she'll basically just kind of give us some steps and, you know, just kind of her own personal take on, you know, what it means to take on small business.
My business journey, I started my first business during the COVID pandemic. So when the United States was shutting down, I still had a job. I worked in the nursing field, so I was one of those. What did they call it? It was a cute word. It made me feel real important.
Oh, essential?
I was essential.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was an essential worker. So that was happening, but there was this market for goods from each other, and it was almost like with the shutdown, like as a community, not just the people close to you, right? Because we weren't able to be close to each other. But so the way that the community had just grew, like through social media and people wanting to connect with people because we just couldn't connect how we were used to.
Yes, ma'am.
I started a skincare line called Medusa Wellness and Beauty. That's officially been rebranded to Gooddon Aesthetics. So that started with like an eczema cream that I created for myself because I have eczema and it was really hard to keep under control. I did all of the over-the-counter items, and if something worked, it only worked for a little bit. So I came to the point where I was like, okay, well, let me figure this out because something's not working. I don't know what it is that's not working. I don't know what the sensitivity is. So I started playing with natural ingredients, butters, oils, stuff like that. I came up with this balm or like this salve, and I used it for myself for years. And COVID happened, and people were making money off this stuff that they were creating. And I was like, well, hey,
You saw an
I have
opportunity,
this. Yeah.
and you just went full force.
Exactly.
So to back up a little bit, you said that you do have a career in the medical field, right?
I do.
And
yeah.
so then from there, because of COVID, you was inspired to pursue entrepreneurship, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think I've always wanted to be in my own business. I have a strong personality and I'm bossy. So I've always wanted
Yes,
to
ma'am.
I've always wanted to be my own boss of some sorts, and I just had all these different dreams, but I never had anything that was like big enough or that I was that in love with that I wanted to pursue until the skincare line. I was like, hey, I'm actually really good at this and I've been sleeping on myself. So
Absolutely.
let's put this together. Let's create a line. And
time to wake up.
Exactly. Period. So I woke up. I woke up, and then after like a month of launching the skincare line, I think I had 9 different items, and it was great. So that was an e-commerce based business. So that was entirely ran off the web. I was based in Tennessee at the time, outside of Nashville. So I'm not sure about like in Iowa and Nebraska. Every state has their different laws, rules, and regulations. But in Tennessee, I ran that business underneath a sole proprietorship. I did not have an LLC with that one.
So that means, what does that mean?
Right.
What is
so,
a sole proprietor?
I don't really know. I just knew.
I feel like it's like your individual, like just you.
Yeah, it's like I own this. This is mine, and I take responsibility for it. So when I moved up here and I opened a business here, I ended up getting an LLC, for one, because LLCs in Iowa are very affordable. It's like $50. So I did the LLC, and so from my understanding, the difference between an LLC and a sole proprietorship is if someone were to sue me and I was the sole proprietor, that means anything I own is up for grabs. Whereas underneath an LLC, if someone were to sue me, they're only suing the business and not myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up with the GED, so, I got to keep a dictionary close to me. Thankfully, in today's generation, we live with Google at the palm of our hands. So, I Googled sole proprietorship, and it says that it is a type of enterprise owned and run by one person in which there is no legal distinction between the owner and the business entity. So as Monica was saying, that had her skincare messed up my beautiful indigenous skin, I could have came and sued her and got that big check.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But with the LLC, from what I'm understanding, it sounds like it separates her from the business of Good Dawn Aesthetics.
What are the steps? I know that it varies too from state to state, but like, what was your personal journey?
Right. So Moon Wellness and Company is my baby. That is my baby. I love Moon Wellness and Company. So Moon Wellness and Company started off as a brand of wellness type items, right? So teas, herb blends, stuff like that, bath salts, and hopefully it'll just grow into being like a household wellness brand. From Moon Wellness and Company, I opened Moon Wellness Center in Sioux City. So I offer meditative services, plant-based medicine services. It's really great. I love it there. It's a beautiful environment. With opening Moon, so with opening any business, the first thing you're going to do is apply for an EIN through the IRS website. An EIN is your employer identification number. You're going to need this for so many things. You're going to need it to open your business bank account. You'll want one of those for when it comes time to build business credit. You'll need it with your taxes. If ever you're doing any type of like reselling and you need a reseller's permit, you're going to need an EIN. So first step is always your EIN. That's also your way of securing your brand name, your business name, right? Mm-hmm. But I guess really, if I rewind, before you get an EIN, you actually want to figure out what kind of business you're going to own, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you'll want to do your research. Are you selling retail? Are you going into retail? Are you selling stuff? Okay, well, you have to look into your local laws, make sure you're following all those. Do you want to go into real estate? Okay, well, you need a real estate license before you can do that. You can't just start buying up property and then reselling it. If you want to go into stuff like the beauty industry, you need to go to school for that. So it's not always just like, hey, I want to own this business.
Absolutely.
Let me open it and it's going to work. No,
Absolutely.
Sometimes there's a lot of steps that you have to do before even opening the business.
So I've been to your shop, and
did you love it?
Yes, absolutely. It's a very welcoming environment.
I love it.
It is a very welcoming and just homely environment. Even my son felt, safe, welcomed, and secure there. So it is a very blessed environment. upon walking into your shop, so you're saying you do have retail items, but you offer services as well, right? Mm-hmm. So you're hitting a double header with that, because like you said, it's very important to identify what it is you want to do, whether it's providing a service or whether it's providing a product, you know? And it sounds like Moon Wellness & Co. will eventually be the product.
Yeah,
you know, I'm just trying to clarify for some, taking this all in is like, it's a beautiful thing.
You mentioned EIN and then, the local laws. Where do people access that kind of information if they don't know? And like resources, maybe like business plans or, what are some resources that were available to you that you know of?
So I only had one resource available to me, and that was Google. I Googled everything. You skip the first couple things that come up after you put in a search because those are always ads. Skip those. You don't want them. You go down to the links that don't have that little green ad little thing next to them. Skip those. You don't want the ads. So Google was my primary resource with the skincare line and with opening Moon. You want to be specific to your state, right? So when I was opening Moon, I was under the impression that I was like, oh, I'm just going to be a sole proprietor. That's what I did with my skincare line. It's not going to cost me anything. It'll be great. But when I had typed everything in underneath Iowa, as I moved to Iowa, that's where I opened Moon at, I was like, oh, no, I need an LLC. I was like, ooh, which was like great, right? Because for me, that was like a level up. Because when I was in Tennessee, to have an LLC, I think it was like $350 per year or something like that. It was a cost that just wasn't in my margins at the time. I couldn't do it. So when I was looking at everything in Iowa, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have an LLC. I'm like a real businesswoman now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so Google's the best. I also connected with Tony Woods.
Shout out to Tony Woods.
He's great. I talk to him all the time. I'm trying to think of like what his title is, but he works here in Winnebago with like the small business
administration.
Yeah.
The SBA.
The SBA. So I had got with him before I had even got a property. And we talked about like business loans and business plans, right? And from there I went in, and now I know like the population of Sioux City. Right. I'm like, I never expected to think
because you have to think about, okay, I want to do this business, but also like, what am I really offering to the community? What is the community's needs and wants? Because there is a market. You have to think about like, what you are selling and what you are providing, is it really needed in the community that you are in?
And who is your market?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that was interesting after meeting with Tony, like getting into all the different population and census statistics of the area, figuring out who my market was and what % of the population my market made up. Like that was fun. That was fun to me. So from there, Tony took me to look at different properties. I found a property I liked. And then he kind of handed me off to Alexia Boggs, who handles commercial real estate through HCI. And she ended up being the person to help me negotiate on my lease. So that's one thing that I learned. Okay, so another resource, YouTube. YouTube is a great resource, regardless of what you're doing. So through YouTube, I learned when you're getting a commercial property to negotiate your lease, negotiate everything. So that's what I utilized Alexia for. Tenant improvement allowance is something that I didn't know existed, and that's where the person who owns or the company who owns the property that you'll be leasing from, they give you a set amount of money to make your property look how you would like it. So that was great. So she did all those negotiations for me.
When you go for a goal, make it beyond your wildest dreams, because that's your goal. And
yes, ma'am.
I'm a firm believer in that. No dream is too hard to get to. So Brandon, I know we've had conversations about your personal journey and what you would like to see in your future in regards to business.
Yeah, so just a little backstory for the listeners. I was incarcerated at a young age, at 16. You know, I thought my future was over at that point. I was 16 years old, and they gave me a 15-year sentence. So basically, they just doubled my lifetime that I was going to spend in a penitentiary. Luckily, there's a higher power that saw fit that I had a different route. In that time, I got my GED, as I mentioned before, and I started going to college. You know, taking college classes behind the walls. You know, that's something that I couldn't fathom for myself. My dream and my career is carpentry. You know, I love to build, and so I did jump into the classes, and because honestly, I wanted to go for welding and electrical, because they're more exciting. But
Bob the Builder.
Right, for real, that's what I was thinking.
and see, that's the thing, is like I'm going for the money, right? Because they give you the little brochures and the thing, like, oh, electricians make this much per year. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go shock myself about that. And but then, you know, there's secondary, and then there's your third choice, and welding was my backup because it was the second highest grossing one underneath electricians. And like I said, my higher power saw fit that I had something else planned for me, because there was about 4 openings for carpentry, a 4-month wait for the electrical, and I think a month wait for the next welding class. So it was either take this class or sit around and do nothing. And so I jumped into it. That began the current 13-year journey that I've been on. You know, going to college while being locked up, being able to focus on just getting what I wanted to get done. It inspired this dream that, you know, I could go all the way, get into construction, and even start my own business, bid my own jobs, and kind of just go all the way up to the top with it. You know, I've always had dreams of being my own boss. You know, I wanted to call my own shots and just dictate my own life, because at the time my life was being dictated by my current circumstances. Yeah. So, yeah, I jumped into the college thing. I did that, and I was released before I could finish it. You know, so I had about 7-8 credits in Iowa for my carpentry, and I got out, jumped into the union. Well, no, I got out. I went to Turpac, you know, it was my first job. I'm trying to skip steps. Like, I just wanted to share that raw, authentic story, because for those that think that, oh, I graduated high school and go straight into, nah, it's not that. You know, we got to grind. We got to pay our dues. We got to climb up for everything, because ain't nothing handed to us on the res, you know what I mean? For us in this third world country and on our homeland, ain't nothing handed. And so, yeah, I got out, started at Turpac, and eventually I built up the work ethic to where I was offered an opportunity to work for Habitat for Humanity. And I was a site supervisor, and from there I was under the wing of one of my old teachers from before I went into incarceration. He guided me. He taught me a lot of things about paying my own taxes quarterly, because it was a nonprofit organization I was subcontracted. And I'm 20 years old learning all these things. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I'm getting a nice check. And I'm feeling like I'm able to swing my hammer and be able to, you know, pay my dues towards my career. That opened the door for the union, you know what I mean? Because building up that money and building up that skill set, people do pay attention. And so I caught the eye of another carpenter, and he gave me the whole layout of how to get to the union, and applied for that. They accepted me, and next thing I know, I was working on the Hard Rock. You know, I built the Hard Rock in Sioux City while living across the street at the residential treatment facility.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I've got a lot invested into this career, and this is just by chance from going through my life and, you know, dealing with the consequences of my choices. And so, yeah, I had the union thing going on, went on the road, traveled. I did scaffolding, I did concrete, I did drywall, I did framing, steel stud framing, and I was doing it, you know, for a while, and I was living my dream that I was dreaming about in prison. But at the same time, I was messing up. You know what I mean? It was too much money. It was too much success at one time for my undisciplined mind, and with no guidance, you know, I fell to my my disease of addiction, and we'll get to that on another episode.
Oh yeah,
you know?
we'll definitely.
So,
there's a whole other episode
but
for that.
you know, that just took me away from my dream, you know, and I ended up going back, getting another charge, completed that, did probation, and when I got out on probation, you know, I told myself, like, I'm going all the way in this time, and I'm not turning back. So I enrolled at Nebraska Indian Community College. I'm currently a student there, pursuing my applied associate degree for construction and business management. So I got a couple things under my belt that I'm trying to work on, because I think to see this thing all the way through, I need to be able to have the business mindset as well as the skill set from the carpentry and you know, my recovery and my wellness. You know, it just ties everything together. And so yeah, that is my dream, is to graduate with this certificate in May, walk the stage and be able to you know, get an LLC. You know, I'm taking notes right here. Get an LLC, a truck, some tools, and just start building a name for myself.
Yeah, so I love the vision. I love, there is a definite need in our communities for our natives to, you know, build things, you know, have pride in building things, but also like your children are going to be able to say, oh, my grandfather, he helped build this. And then also just to expand on like the incarceration system, that, you know, we have high rates of poverty, incarceration,
Absolutely,
across the board. And so it's hard to come back into or re-enter into society. I always feel like it's like you're going back into the wild, like you're back to the streets. But that it is real, because like you do so much while you're incarcerated, and you know, it's you're literally in a fishbowl. That's how I felt. But when you get out, there's just so many things that are kind of just out of your control, and it's hard to keep a vision. It's hard to keep that dream when you have so many things kind of going against you, and you literally have to survive at points in times. And so I think it is a great vision and dream, because it is needed for our women and our men coming back into society.
Yes,
they
ma'am.
need you know, good jobs. I love the trades. I think, you know, there's a huge need for trade jobs and having those skill sets.
We're essential.
Because that's literally,
Yes.
you're essential. You have to keep your community going. So I feel like, you know, living in Sioux City too is like, we see a lot of, you know, out-of-state millionaires that have our properties, and like we can't even access those because they have them, and they're like, well, cough up $1 million and I'll give it to you. And that's not even like repairing it or renovating it. Like you have to come up with that too as well. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just want to, what you said resonates, because it's like, I've lived that. I know that.
Yes, ma'am. And you mentioned my kids. You know, that's what really reignited the dream. Was after I became a father. I started paying some bills, and I started working some jobs that I just did not like.
Right.
But like you said, with my son Leon, you know, he asked me today, you know, how old was I when I first built a house? And I was 20, and he asked me, you know, Dad, can I build a house when I turn 20? And I had to tell him, like, no. You're probably going to start a lot sooner than that.
I was like, wait.
13, 12, you're going to be swinging a hammer. So it's a beautiful gift to know that my child wants to do something. He has a similar interest that I do. And like I said, starting up this business.
the way you were like, no.
But
just dead faced and everything. No. I was like, wait, why'd you take that dream from him like that?
Because we're going to fast forward. We're not waiting until 20. You know what I mean? That's the beautiful thing in my journey, is that I get to share it and help you guys save some time on some routes that you don't have to take. Exactly. And the dream really with this business and with this company is that I want to provide, like you said, getting back out, not just for incarcerated people, but getting off the reservation, graduating high school, or maybe, you know, the medical field ain't what you want to do and you want to try something else. I want to be the one that can provide that opportunity. like that's been my inspiration and my motivation, is to see how, you know, a little bit of unity can turn into something very beautiful.
Right.
And that's what I want to do with this company, is be able to provide them opportunities, give some people some jobs, and keep that money. Like I said in the beginning, the small business is essential to it's not essential, but it's the backbone to our community. You know, and so being able to employ people and pay them out, and then they go into the Siouxland and the Winnebago community, and they put that money back into other small businesses. That's how we thrive.
What was like the mental aspect of like opening up a business? Like, how scary was it, and was it scary, you know? And where are you at today, and what is the future of like what do you envision?
Where am I at today? I'm still scared.
In Winnebago.
I'm in Winnebago.
Right now, I'm in Winnebago. So no, I'm still scared to this day. I hit 1 year of business December 1st of 2022. So that first year was very touch and go for me. There was moments where everything was great and all the bills were paid, and then there was times where I was like, well, what am I going to do, right? Because I'm in this 2-year lease, but I also have a contract in play where if ever I have to exit that lease, I still owe this company the money for my 2-year lease. So I was like, I am not about to just fail out and still have to pay all this rent money for all this time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it is scary. It's very scary because there's a lot on the line. You know, I'm not just making money to pay my rent for Moon Wellness and pay the lights for Moon Wellness. No, I'm making money to pay my rent where I live, where the lights for where I live, to keep food in my house so I can eat, to keep my phone going, to take care of my family when they need it. So, yeah, it's scary. There's a lot riding on my business, but I think the biggest thing riding on my business is me. Right? Like, it's that, like, proving it to myself. Because it could get tough, and I could be like, you know what, this is too much. I'm good. Well, I don't like it. But no, I can't. Like, when those moments come, I'm like, okay, it's time to go harder. Like, what else can I do? What's next? How do I get myself to this next level?
Would you say that fear comes from, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Get out the way. My question comes first. Would you say that...
Ladies first.
No, go ahead.
Man, would you say that that fear comes from the fear of commitment? Because I think, like, for me personally, I could quit this job if I don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, if this podcasting thing ain't for me, I can just say, hey, you know, I'm done. But when it's actually your business, your money, your hours, your time, like, that's a commitment to self and to something bigger than self. Would you say that, is it fair to say the fear of that commitment is what's kind of, because like you said, you're locked into a 2-year lease. Yeah. You give up and you're still got to pay that rent. Like,
so I wouldn't say that it's a fear of commitment, because I don't fear commitment in general. For me, it's a fear of failure.
There you go.
I do not want to fail.
Absolutely.
I refuse to fail. I've had so many failures in life, or so many experiences that could be deemed a failure, right? This can't fail. Like, I can't allow this to fail. It just can't happen. But it's also not destined for failure. Like, everything's going great. Yeah.
Yes,
so I think a lot of people, and this is just in general, just generally speaking, I feel like a lot of people have this negative self-talk, and, you know, wherever it comes from, you know, whether it was, you know, your environment, or I just feel like we have this negative self-talk, or this person, right, that's like, no, you can't do it. What if this happens, or what if that? But also, it is in our failures that we learn.
Absolutely.
We learn how to become better. When you start things, you're not great at them. You have to, like, Michael Jordan wasn't great when he started playing basketball, right? Like, he had to work at it. But it's the consistency. It is showing up. It is who you surround yourself with, too. That's the biggest thing, too, is like, you can't surround yourself with other people that aren't necessarily winning, or like they're not motivated. And also, too, like, you don't have to pursue the educational pathway. You do not have to do that.
Absolutely.
You can if you want to. I'm, you know, all for it, and I encourage it. but you don't have to.
It ain't easy.
And especially like you said, like we have things like the internet, we have things that are accessible to us where that knowledge is out there. And there's people that want to see you succeed. Absolutely. And you want to be in their circle because they're giving you free game.
Absolutely.
They want to see you uplifted and encouraged. And, you know, I feel like when it comes to money itself, money is an energy. And whether you have a scarcity mindset or whether you have an abundant mindset, you're going to attract that, just depending on what the energy that you put out. I know that's like, woo, you know.
No, that was, yeah.
Big words.
I know.
Yeah. No, that was great. Me and Brandon kind of had a conversation like that, like on the way in during the drive, right? We were talking about like who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And making sure that if you're going to have these people around you, are they ambitious or have they been talking about wanting to do the same thing for 3 years but haven't even took the first step?
Yes.
That's not someone that you really want to be around. You can love them. That can still be your friend.
Absolutely.
But you can't get stuck in that stagnant place with them.
Right.
Right? And then speaking. I do not allow negative self-talk. If I have like a moment where maybe I'm like slipping into depression or I'm having just a tough day, right? I'll allow myself that day, but after that day, it's over and it's time to actually do something about it. You know what I mean? I allow myself to feel bad for myself when things don't go the way I want them to. But if I just stay feeling bad about it and I stay in my head and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this happened. Why does this happen to me? No, girl. Okay.
Detach
have your
from
day.
it.
Yeah. Lay on the couch, watch Netflix with your dog. You know what I mean? Eat some junk food. Shout out to Saint. I miss you, baby. I'll be home soon. But then the next day, it's like, okay, it's time to figure this out because you're not what happened to you. You are what you do for you. You are the way that you look at yourself, the way that you talk to yourself, the way you present yourself. So,
right.
Yeah, those are some bomb points to make.
Brandon, do you have anything else to add on to that conversation?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, as you were talking, I was thinking, and Monica, as you were speaking, I was thinking about it's all about balance, man. You know, because me right now, I work a 12-hour shift. You know, I just got off at 6 this morning. I had a quick little cat nap and then a few minutes to prepare before going live. You know what I mean? And then after this, on a typical day, I would go right back to a 12-hour shift or class. You know what I mean? Because I'm juggling all three. Yep. And so it is very time-consuming and it is very stressful at times because, you know, with life comes a lot of challenges. And I think that's why I love our three additions to this podcast is because you bring in the wellness part of it, the mental health, and the, you know, it is important to get your sleep. Like me, I'm a go-getter. You know what I mean? I got that hunger because you just heard where I was coming from. Right. I'm eating 30-cent ramen noodles for dinner. Right. And that's after eating the state-provided meal. So
real hungry.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to paint that picture that I'm hungry, man. But at the same time, I will run myself into the ground by trying to take on too many commitments. That's why I mentioned that. Because for me, my fear is the fear of commitment. Not saying I can't commit to something, but it's like I said, once it's your money, it's into it. Once it's your time, once it's, you know, then it's like, oh, man, do I really want to be doing this?
For sure.
You know, so I think it draws back to what Monica said also. Just determine what you want and then find that balance of how, because we have kids, and I said, we all have kids.
I looked around.
Shout out to Zane again.
I'll be home soon.
You'll be home soon.
Poor baby.
So, yeah, I think it's just all about finding that balance and being able to just, you know, pursue what you want, but also enjoy life, because it does come with a lot of challenges and it does come with a lot of headaches. I'm already just experiencing that, getting through the educational part while trying to work a job, and it is a lot, man, but we're going to get there. We're going to be all right.
We have a list here that we had compiled. For the most part, the first list here that we have is all native. So we have like Moon Wellness, Andrea Beauty, Hey Girl Beads and Creations. We have artists too, like Eddie from Hawates. He does really amazing artwork. And then I want to shout out to Jesse Saul. He does the Fried Bread Cartel.
Oh, hey, my brother's on this list.
And then, yeah. So Annalina's Uda Bread. We have Wabasha, HVAC. Which, by the way, like Wabasha HVAC, I think is so cool because I've seen where they, you know, they go and assist, especially when it's so cold out. And, you know, like on the res, that's a life-threatening situation. So I just want to say shout out to Wabasha HVAC for that, because that's cool. I like that. So also we can't forget Ho Chunk Inc. Like,
yes,
man,
yes, ma'am.
And just to think about Ho Chunk, you know, just it all starts with that, you know, that vision and that dream and the passion and the drive. But also, like, you have to have a team. So, like, if you don't have the skill set, who does? You know, who is best fit for that? And that's how you create your team, and you do amazing things. So
Always keep people that's smarter around you.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why I'm around you guys.
I also want to shout out to my sister Jess, Shining Beam Designs. But yeah, so we have all these beautiful natives that and some of these I was like, I didn't even know. So I definitely want to hit them up and, you know, do a shout out. And so our second list here is kind of just in general. Some of them are, I mean, for the most part, they're in Siouxland, but some of them I know are like in Iowa City. And shout out to M&M Printing, who is doing our MMIR powwow posters and things like that. You know, I think that's the coolest part, is like you get to interact with these folks and you get to have that relationship. Not saying like you can't do your printing at Staples or anything, but it's just more of an intimate feeling. So, Monica, I don't know if there's any small businesses that aren't listed that you want to shout out.
Yeah, because I definitely did not add to the list. So, Wabasha Electric, that is my brother, Billy Wabasha. He does all the electrical work here in Winnebago. So, cool. When the school went up, you know, 12, 15 years ago, he was a part of that. He's a part of all the new house builds. Powwow time, he's the reason that the lights are on and the intercom systems are working. So shout out to him. No. That's definitely one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to having your own business and being self-employed. Outside of Winnebago, I'm a big fan of Heart Therapy. That's Molly Pace. She's an art therapist. She's great. And then everybody else that I can think of is like the beauty industry. You got Brows by B. She's a eyebrow artist. She's so great. Yeah, Brittany. She's wonderful.
Her Bay Brunch. No.
Yeah, I know. I love them. Beauty by V. That's Vanessa Hernandez. She does like body sculpting, lash extensions.
Brandon, do you have any small businesses that you want to shout out?
I actually do. I want to shout out my daughter, Amore Jewels. Yeah. You know, she's starting to make her own jewelry with the, I don't know what it is.
The eye. The evil eye.
The evil eye.
The hamsa, which is like the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's into the wellness and the spirituality of what goes behind all of that stuff. I don't know nothing about it. You know, but she actually found something that she's passionate about, and she makes some very good different styles, and she's being creative and just letting her, you know, her artistry flow. And so also, there's one more I wanted to give a shout out to is Cleaning Sioux. You know, they provide cleaning and sanitation services for the Siouxland area. A little backstory on them is that they started in 2019 here in Sioux City. They currently don't have an office, but they can be reached through their social media page, Cleaning Sioux. Let's see here. You know, they have taken a lot of pride. It says here, I have a written statement from them, as we have taken a lot of pride in what we do, and it have blessed us tremendously. We started with just us owners, and now we have 4 people on payroll. We hope to soon be able to provide full-time positions to our employees, but at this time, it is part-time. We clean and sanitize several apartment buildings throughout the Siouxland area, and we maintain the Arena Sports Academy, the Long Line Center, and recently the United Sports Academy as well. So, you know, they're growing, and so shout out to them, and
shout
for
out to
those,
Shelly, yeah.
For those of you that do go and enjoy them events, you know, I mean, they're the ones that keep it clean and sanitized for us, so that way we can continue to have these things go on. Because after COVID, for me, it's a very important thing is to stay safe and keep that sanitizer on me.
Right.
But,
right, for real.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a local small business with a little backstory, and I just love how they're just growing. Like I said, they started off by themselves, and you know, it just goes to show that you guys can do whatever you want to do. If you didn't even think you could make $1 cleaning, you better pick up that broom. All parents, get your kids, train them early, get that vacuum, and I got my kids wiping everything down.
Right. So I just want to have some time for like closing remarks. So again, just reiterating that, you know, who you surround yourself with is very important. And, you know, no dream is too hard to reach. And that if you do dream, go big. And, you know, yeah. So, but do you guys have anything that you want to like recap or, you know, just kind of close it on out?
Or just to kind of caddy off what you're saying, right? Like, no dream is too big, but also no dream is too small. Like, don't ever let someone tell you, oh, well, you can do more than that. No, if that's your dream and that's where you're happy at, go for it and be the best at it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
I just want to say, be true to yourself. You know, as my sponsor always says, that there's no sharing or comparing when you're in a league of your own. You know what I mean? Stay in your lane,
like that.
Get focused, and go for it. Even if it's not small business, you know what I mean? Even if it's just being a good employee at your job, or if it's just being a good student or a good child, you know, good parent or a good sibling, just be true to yourself. Figure out what it is you want to do, and then go pursue it. Don't stop. Keep going. And even if it ain't what you're trying to succeed in, other doors will open up.
I wanna add on to that. I really love that. So like comparing yourself to others, like it should never be about that. And especially if you see somebody else that is doing better, or you know, not doing better, but like they're doing something.
Look at me like that.
We see someone doing better.
Hey,
don't be jealous.
no.
Do not be jealous.
Yes, don't be a hater.
Don't use lateral oppression. That's the number one thing that I do not like to see, especially within our own Native communities.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, don't do that, because you know what? There's a whole bunch of non-natives that are getting it, and they don't care. You know. Another thing too is like your own self. That should be your own marker of your success. Be better than you were than the day before.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is definitely what you should be focused on.
Yes, ma'am.
You can find Great Plains Action Society on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Yeah, we'll be here on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we can't wait to bring some more content to you guys.
Thank everybody
Thank
for listening and tuning in.
you.